Picture four Victorian idiots pedaling like hamsters in an opium dream desperately trying to sew a pillowcase while hurtling toward a drainage ditch at 6 miles per hour. This was peak efficiency in 1883. The Coventry Rotary Sociable, a bicycle built for four morons, bolted to a vibrating Singer sewing machine that stabbed fabric at flesh-piercing speed 3 inches from some poor bastard's femoral artery. Let's autopsy the stupidity. Humanity had just discovered velocipedes, and instead of asking, should we? These corset-strangled lunatics went straight to, can we cram more productivity into this rolling coffin? The answer was to Frankenstein a literal pain train where your Aunt Mildred could hemorrhage out over embroidery thread, all in the name of domestic industrial advancement / Now realize this wasn't some drunk aristocrat's fever sketch. Actual engineers filed patents for hundreds of these mobile sweatshops. Imagine the sales pitch. Gentlemen, envision your wives pedaling until their corsets burst while simultaneously darning your socks mid-collision. It's like combining a Cuisinart with a roller coaster, then charging admission for the carnage. And yet, here's the miracle, no one died. Not a single documented case of great-grandpa Silas getting disemboweled by a runaway bobbin. Darwinism took a sick day, folks. The only plausible explanation: Victorians were too hopped on laudanum to perceive danger. That, or the sheer aura of mutton chops deflected catastrophe. And don't get me started on the Amphibocycle, a pedal-powered abomination that tried to be a boat when it got wet. Because nothing screams watertight seal like oak planks strapped to a penny-farthing with hope and spit. It sank faster than my third marriage, but look at the optimism. If we stitch enough delusion to gears, physics becomes optional. Modern parallel. Crypto bros insisting blockchain can fix tofu. Same brain rot / Historical footnote. 12 years after these atrocities, the Wright brothers flew because they prioritized not dying. Meanwhile, the Victorian middle class was over here sourcing adjectives for their obituaries. Reginald perished as he lived, violently multitasking. Their ghosts still haunt thrift stores, whispering productivity is a moral imperative, while haunting antique treadle machines. Let's dissect this carnival of stupidity like a hungover coroner elbow-deep in a rodeo clown's autopsy report. Marrying a sewing machine to a bicycle isn't engineering. It's weaponized delusion served with a side of Victorian meth fumes. Efficiency, please. The damned prototype used pincushions as brake pads, which worked splendidly until desperate Doris embroidered her own spleen to a woolen petticoat during a downhill hemming event. That flywheel deserved its own war crimes tribunal. 200 RPM treadles. Amateur hour. This rotary guillotine hit 1200, shredding crinolines into confetti while converting passengers into accidental steampunk piñatas. Accident logs read like AI-generated Black Mirror episodes. Subject achieved organic fusion with Jingham sampler at 9 mph, or silk spool staged hostile takeover of rear axle, launching Vicar into hedgerow with tinsel velocity. Modern equivalent: strapping a Roomba to your face for hands-free makeup removal, because an Instagram guru swore it wards off male pattern baldness. Then came the Amphibocycle, the Titanic's meth head cousin. Imagine Elon Musk and Jack Cousteau collaborating on a submarine made of wishful thinking and oakum. Survivors reported gentlemen of stature, bailing out duck ponds with their top hats, howling psalms like baptisms gone feral. Picture a Kardashian assembling flat-pack furniture during a tsunami warning while live streaming self-care tips. Yet these certified lunatics built more, caulking hulls with beeswax and medieval prayer scrolls. They're the Victorian ancestors of that guy in your Zoom meeting who thinks blockchain can cure his kombucha addiction. Personal evidence of collective dementia. My second ex-wife, we'll call her Supina Karen, once knitted a View JS scarf during an Uber pool ride. By arrival, she'd yarn-bombed a crypto bro's hairpiece into a permanent beanie. The lawsuit alleged existential terror induced by alpaca wool suffocation. But at least her Fendi clutch didn't detonate like the Great Hertfordshire yarn tsunami of 1887. Final diagnosis: Humanity treats innovation like a Tinder swipe. Smash enough garbage together and call it disruption. Victorians didn't invent coffee. They mainlined radiator fluid and hallucinated patent office submissions. These abominations aren't machines. Their cry for help written in sterling silver and rivets, like if Shark Tank pitched a toaster bidet hybrid sponsored by Grimes' AI baby. This so-called aquatic marvel breached like a whale auditioning for a Pixar tragedy when confronted with a puddle that wouldn't challenge a determined terrier. Witness accounts describe chain-smoking aristocrats floundering in waist-deep muck, while chanting obscene limericks about the Archbishop of Canterbury's gout. The official inquiry concluded the vessel sank due to excessive optimism and slightly less buoyancy than an anvil wrapped in velvet. A problem modern grifters solve by calling failure beta testing and raising venture capital from dentists who think Web 3 explains their daughter's septum piercing. Now compare this liquefied ambition to Elon's Minisub fiasco, a glorified HVAC duct he tried to shove into a Thai cave while tweeting aquatic puns. Both reek of billionaires LARPing as Mercury astronauts after 3 espresso martinis and a keynote sniff. The Victorians at least blamed God's wrath when their swamp Segway imploded. Tech titans blame haters before repackaging the corpse as an NFT. Remember Juicero, that $700 juice press for squeezing Capri Suns? It's the spiritual successor to sewing bicycles, Pure Solutions hunting for non-existent problems, like Goop selling yoni eggs to people whose idea of cardio is rage tweeting about airline peanuts. These inventors didn't fail. They pioneered the art of failing upward. Like kosher salt be sprinkling gold leaf on a burnt quesadilla, humanity's incompetence becomes premium content. My third ex-wife, whom the courts christened Incendiary Susan, once tried waterproofing her iPhone with the same beeswax that doomed the Amphibocycle. Her genius solution to a cracked screen: slather it in artisanal honey and shout Dua Lipa lyrics until Siri wept. Verizon billed her for emotional damages to cloud servers, but at least her OnlyFans diagnosing Wi-Fi routers through tarot went platinum. Witness the unholy lineage, from waterlogged Victorians to our current carnival of electrolyte startups and celeb wellness grifts. Kendall Jenner's avocado lube, Jared Leto's Cultron coding camp, Kim Skim's SKKN CRMM landfill fodder, all floundering with the same dignity as the Amphibocycle sucking pond scum into its sewing machine transmission. Their secret: monetizing the exact moment shame curdles into viral content. Imagine Edison live-streaming his elephant execution while hawking zinc supplements for voltaic purity. A personal proof that evolution is stalled. I once watched a crypto CEO try to rescue his underwater Lamborghini by hiring a viral Michael Bay impersonator to detonate it for Twitter clout. Spoiler: the lake water had more processing power than his blockchain. His panic attack trended as Hydro Hodl, proof humanity views collapse as an audition tape for Shark Tank, Narcissist Edition. The Amphibocycle didn't sink. It simply committed digital seppuku before we invented cringe compilations. Now we endure influencers peddling the emotional agility courses while screaming into juicers on Cameo. At least Victorians drowned quietly, their last thoughts fixated on whether corsets qualified as maritime safety gear. Let me sketch you a ledger of bureaucratic dementia that makes Beanie Baby portfolios look like Warren Buffett's wet dream. Back in 1893, Her Majesty's Treasury funneled 27,000 quid into developing amphibious sewing tandems for constables to patrol the Thames. That's 9.4 million in today's opium money to arm waterlogged bobbies with Singer Model 27 mounted on floating penny farthings. The logic: cholera outbreaks were supposedly triggered by textile miasma, wafting off dockworkers' trousers. Parliament's stroke of genius: unleash quadricycle brigades to stitch sanitized morality into criminal breeches mid-pursuit. Picture a sergeant pedaling furiously past a piss-soaked alley, screaming, "Contempt of court comes with a 4-thread overlock, you miscreant." As a pickpocket escapes, not due to police ineptitude, but because Constable Davies sewed his own testicles to a pannier full of thimbles. Modern venture capital operates on this same calculus of weaponized delusion. Just swap absinthe for oat milk cortados. The Ranos torched 900 million, proving Elizabeth Holmes could grift harder than a Targaryen with a PowerPoint. Juicero vaporized 120 mil, convincing Whole Foods disciples that liquefying bok choy required blockchain-level encryption. Yet these TED Talk flunkies look like coupon clippers compared to 1874 Velocipede Aquathreader, a Dutch maritime contraption where sailors vomit cycled below deck to power underwater looms, fortifying naval textiles against mermaid seduction. Their crowning achievement: motion sickness weaving a portrait of Queen Wilhelmina onto a live torpedo using squid ink and mutiny-induced delirium. They unveiled this dementia at the Paris Expo alongside Bell's telephone, because nothing says progress like projectile quilting adjacent to the birth of telecommunications. This isn't fiscal negligence. It's humanity flirting with Darwin like he's a drunk Tinder match. My unmedicated college roommate Trevor once secured seed funding for TikTok for Seagulls, short-form content delivered via breadcrumb trails. Sandhill rode through 6 figures at him before realizing avian attention spans max out at French fry theft. His pivot: a DAO where investors voted on which historic atrocities to reenact using only NFTs of Winston Churchill's napkin sketches. Actual grown men in all birds called this disruptive historical recontextualization, between hits of Gorilla Glue vape pens. He now mules counterfeit Ozempic to NFT bros behind a Tacoma Dick's Sporting Goods somewhere. A Dutch admiral's ghost nods approval from a seaweed-clogged bicycle loom. Here's your assignment. Zell me $2,000 with the memo of extreme ironing drone, and I'll live stream constructing it while reading aloud from the Pentagon's $80 million study on tactical Parmesan cheese aging. Odds of functional hardware. Worse than HBO renewing The Idol for Season 2. Odds of you explaining to a grand jury why my flaming bobbin assembly torched a Chuck E. Cheese. Higher than Sam Bankman-Fried's pretrial Adderall prescription. Yet you'll Venmo instantly, because humans crowdfund disasters like Bravo producers manufacture housewife meltdowns. The epiphany: every blockchain butter churn, every torpedo-quilted monarch, they're not fuck-ups. They're Darwinian experiments measuring how many VC suckers will deep-throat a pitch deck before gagging on reality. The sewing bicycle never died. It metastasized into Zuckerberg's metaverse loom where billionaires pay to digitally stitch their ex's face onto virtual straitjackets. Millennia pass, apps update, but Homo sapiens' core competency remains our pathological need to deep-fry every terrible idea until it glistens like a Kardashian tear at a tax audit. The only miracle here: 0 recorded fatalities. Not because these death traps had safety features. Please. The Amphibocycles, the emergency flotation device, was a single wine cork strapped to the brake handle with whale baleen. But because every owner yeeted these abominations into canals or burning quarries within 2 weeks. One Ohio farm wife notoriously drowned her sewing bike in a hog manure lagoon while screaming "Satan sprockets" louder than a TikToker denied ranch dressing at Panera. After 3 centuries of evolution, humanity's crowning achievement remains our ability to recognize dogshit before it kills us. Usually, the patent office played reluctant bouncer to this circus, rejecting the bicycle blender combo of 1891 for excessive danger to crankshaft operators and bystanders during berry smoothie operations. Translation: Victorians looked at spinning blades bolted to pedals and went, "This might shred toddlers," like they were reporting the weather. Yet C-level executives today would have thrown 5 series of rounds at it while mansplaining disruptive nutritional kinetics through quinoa-stained teeth. Progress. Nihilist startup culture just sandblasted the branding. Witness the Arkansas Quadricyclorium, prototype of 1913, a 4-person roadster with onboard loom that converted rider sweat into embroidery thread. lasted exactly 11 days before being disassembled for scrap metal to repair a moonshine still. The Durham brothers who built it later pivoted to selling radioactive face cream containing actual Hiroshima fallout, which might explain why their Kickstarter for atomic colonic irrigation got 14,000 backers. Some scams are cockroaches dipped in Teflon. A hidden law emerges. Any machine combining transport and cottage industry so thoroughly guarantees failure. Jeff Bezos immediately trademarked its Amazon listing as an NFT. Now, crypto bros pay 6 figures in Shiba Inu coin for JPEG of the Amphibocycle exploding, which they insist is vintage meme dadaism, while their wives drain the joint account to escape Wyoming bunkers. We don't invent new stupid. We just remix the demo tracks with auto-tune and meth. So here's immortality. Wire me 8 bitcoins labeled Terminator quilting franchise before midnight. I'll prototype what Edison feared. A tandem Tesla coil/industrial loom that literally stitches your last will onto stray cats using Morse code plasma bursts. Odds of burning down a Montessori school, solid. Odds of you becoming a literal dumpster fire cautionary tale, guaranteed. But you'll click support faster than Elon rebrands Twitter, because human history isn't a tragedy. It's an open mic night at Chernobyl starring Oxford dropouts who think stitching asbestos Speedos counts as performance art climate praxis.